Hey everybody, I'm in the middle of inventory again. I'm going to try once again to see if I can do two things at one time. So I jumped on because I really wanted to talk to you about something. Let me get my bearings here. Um, yeah, so my last video, I talked about divorce. And today I want to talk about, while I get some labels and stuff done, I want to talk about another reason why many people are single. It's not just because of toxic relationships. And as you read in the title, it's about widowhood. And I wanted to talk to you for a few minutes about widowhood. And this subject is really dear to my heart because in 2012, the most devastating thing that thus far ever happened in my lifetime is when my late husband got sick and passed away. He died. And yeah, it was pretty devastating. Devastating in so many ways. We had just moved from New Jersey to Iowa, and he was super excited about coming to Iowa. And as the loving wife that I was, I was on board. We packed up our things. We had no family here. There was no connection whatsoever. And I believed God with him and moved to Iowa. And things were going super, super well. The church we came to, and he came to pastor. And of course, I was in the background helping him and one of his associate ministers. It was great. I don't know if any of those former parishioners are watching, but it was an amazing couple of years. The church had started to grow more, and yeah, it was just great. The church was wonderful. The parishioners were wonderful and loving. And one day, out of the blue, my husband got really sick. Well, I didn't really realize he was sick. I just know he had to preach one of the community pastors' anniversary. And unlike him, he was still in the bed when it was time for us to go. And that was extremely strange because even when he wasn't feeling well, he was just as most pastors are, a workaholic. So he was still in the bed, and it was alarming to me. I think we had maybe about an hour prior to getting to the church, and he was just in the bed sleeping, wouldn't get up. So I'm like, hey, we got to get to the church. Are you okay? And he was like, yeah, give me a few more minutes. And I'm like, okay. And maybe another 20 minutes went by, and I went to him again, and I touched his head, and he was burning hot. I'm like, are you okay? I'm like, do you want me to preach for you? And he's like, yeah. When he said yes, that my alarm bells went ringing. So I did. And that day will forever be planted in my head because I knew something was extremely wrong. And so I went and ministered. Next thing I know, he still was not well. And to make a long story short, he became gravely ill, and the local hospitals really didn't know what to do with him. So one of the parishioners, I had no idea about the Midwest. Like I said, we're from New Jersey, and I didn't know what to do. I was extremely scared. My God, what's going on? And so I threw him in the car this particular day, and I knew something was wrong because he was letting me do everything that I wanted to do. He was literally listening to everything I said. So I threw him in the car and I drove him to Mayo Clinic. That hospital was about 4 hours from where we lived at the time. And I drove him there. We stayed in the hospital for about 4 months. At that time, I found out that he developed a fungus, a rare fungus. Give me a second. Let me turn this label maker on. All these lights around here. I gotta make sure I can see. It's sad when you have on glasses and still can't see, and contact lenses. Yeah, so which ones am I doing? Oh, I'm preparing as Hannah Lash. And I'm actually wearing Hannah Lash now. So for those who want to know what they look like. So anywho, I drove him to the hospital. 4 months later, we're in the hospital. It took maybe about 10 teams. And that's when they figured out he developed this rare fungus. To this day, I still can't pronounce it. Histo something, and I'm sure there is many on here that's watching probably knows exactly what it is. I was told that it's from that team, I think it was about 10 teams at that point, nobody could figure it out, that particular fungus disease was prevalent in the Midwest and some parts of Africa. I think if I can remember, some of the stuff is such a blur. And he developed it because he was a steroid dependent asthmatic from birth. And so at pretty much because we moved to Iowa, that's why he got sick. He moved to Iowa. Moving to the Midwest caused him to get sick. So to my dismay, devastation, first off, some of the things I think about was how grateful I was that I didn't ask to come to Iowa. It was all him, all God. So many things developed from that experience of, and I'm jumping all over the place because I really don't want this video to be but so long. But like I said, he developed this fungus. We moved to the Midwest, lived in the hospital with him for about 4 months. We got home. He passed away on Christmas Eve, nonetheless. And as I stated in the beginning of this video, that was and still is the most devastating experience of my life. There's no other way to put it. And so many things birthed from that. At that time, I was actually doing chaplaincy work while I was being a wife, and he just didn't want, and I know many pastors who may be watching this can attest, he didn't want anyone to come visit him. He didn't really want anybody looking at him and feeling sorry and pity for him. He didn't want any nurse to touch him, only me. Some of the nurses, they finally just got it and was like, okay, if you can pick him up and lift him and do all that, you go right ahead, because they just kind of, he had the gift of making everybody like him. So yeah, so I was actually performing chaplaincy work besides the lifting and all of that during that time, and had no idea that was going to develop what I do now as being a chaplain. I had no idea what a chaplain was at the time, but even I can really say that even the darkest, the most heinous, the most despairing moments in your life, God can make something beautiful out of it. And honestly, I know that I touched so many lives way above than what I've done in church with parishioners and members. I meet so many different families. I meet so many different races. I meet so many different faith traditions, those who don't believe, those who worship devils, all kinds. And God is present with all of them through me. And that is one of the things that came out of my living that traumatic experience of being a widow. Uh, that was my boot camp of learning how to support and be present for people. Fast forward after my husband died, at that time, I think I probably was licensed as a minister, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 years. I don't know. It's still vague. And when he died, I wanted no parts of God at that time. I really shut down for about a year. I shut down completely. I know my friends and family back in Jersey, they were very, very concerned because that just wasn't me. I love God with all my heart, soul, mind, spirit, everything. And then during that time, I was just completely dumbfounded. I shut down for about a year. Didn't talk to anyone, stayed on my couch. Prior to that, maybe 3 months prior to my husband getting sick, he got a puppy. He was like, well, since we're not going to have any babies, we're going to get a puppy. And I'm like, okay, yeah, we can do the puppy. Never had a puppy before. My mom never allowed animals in the house and all of that. So that's why, for those who know, Randy, my dog who my son has taken from me, is he really, I am not exaggerating when I said Randy literally saved my life. He was the only reason I got off the couch. He knew something was wrong. He would come to the couch while I'm lying there, just if I wasn't bawling, crying, I was just lying there in a stupor. I had no, I just was dumbfounded. I just couldn't believe God took my husband and we came here to do work for him. Been serving God since I was like in my early 20s. I was sold, I still am, but I'm talking about during that time, I was sold completely out for God. Everybody knows I was super deep. Don't come around me because you're going to hear what thus says the Lord. My friends would do things, hide things from me and all of that because they knew whatever it was, I'm going to start preaching. So that's the kind of life I lived and still do, but that's why I was just so devastated by, wow, God, you brought me to this unfamiliar place and you took my husband from me, and that's why I moved here. Unbeknownst to me that God had a bigger plan than that. So I'm saying all of that and rambling on and giving you somewhat of a backdrop of the story because today I want to talk about what when you're a widow, and this is probably for those who are freshly, newly widowed, those, and it can be for anyone, even if you're still in your journey, that I want to talk about a few things. I think I wrote down like seven things you should not do during your learning how to cope during widowhood. So give me 1 second. Let me go. I think I got it. I wrote it down, but it's over here. Give me 1 second. So, yeah. Hopefully I can get this to stand up. When I am chatting with families, and my heart goes out to those newly widowed persons, because if one thing I can relate to is the brokenness and how devastating, and the thing about chaplaincy, it's not about me. It's all about the patient, their families, the family members and all of that. Actually, take this off for a minute. So I don't talk about my experience at all, but my experience helps me help them, helps me to be present for them. But some of the reoccurring, especially those who come in for other situations, when they come in and I find out that they are a widow or they just had some sort of grief, so a loved one died, or there is, no, I wrote a note. Okay, I think I found it. Because I did not want to ramble, because I can talk about this subject forever, let me tell you. So I didn't want to ramble, but I knew I wanted to talk about this. All right, why are you upside down? Come back. Let's see, let me edit it and maybe I can flip it around some here. Here we go. Okay. So some of the conversations I have are so familiar of what I've gone through. And I mean, like, it's just certain things you just go through when you're grieving. And I'm not going to get clinical and talking about the stages of grief. I'm literally going to talk about things you should stay clear of while grieving and going through grief. And I have 7. There's so many, but I wanted to just condense it to 7. The first thing I have down is don't make any life-changing decisions. And I say that because even hindsight is 2020. I remarried after my husband died, about a year or so after that, and I remarried to someone that I actually really thought I knew. I did what I thought was vetting. I was always, even prior to that, pretty thorough with how I discern someone's character. And with this particular situation, I thought I did just that. I thought I did that. This person was a part of our social group prior to my husband's death, and all I heard was great accolades about this person. And well, my ex-husband, I heard so many great accolades. No matter who I encountered, they had nothing but great things to talk about and to say. And some years later, I found out it was all a lie. So not to go into that, but when you are widowed, you may think you're okay. You may think your heart is healthy and whole enough to move on. But be very careful. Be very careful. It's easy to, especially if you've been married for a long period of time, if you are used to being married, it's easy to make life-altering decisions that you would have not made the same decision if you were not in that grieving state. So I caution you. No, and it doesn't even have to be because of a year or 6 months, and all the things. It's not about that. It's about really taking the time of thinking about and processing why you're making the decisions that you're making. So you don't want to make any life altering decisions uh, when you're still grieving. Let me say this: you will never get over. I hear that often when people say, or they tell me that people are wondering or asking them, oh, not specifically these words, but in so many words, you're not over that yet, or you're never going to get over grief. You're never going to get over losing a loved one, especially a spouse if they were a good spouse. Even some that were not so good, but you're never going to get over it. You learn to live with it, but you're not going to get over it. So I would advise, if you are beginning to make decisions, to have a trusted friend or a therapist or a counselor, someone who doesn't have a professional, who doesn't have any skin in the game, or who loves you, if that's a friend or family member, who loves you enough to tell you the truth. Because I promise you can make decisions that you will definitely regret in the future if you do so without consulting people who can help you process that. So that's the first one. Don't make any life changing decisions. The second one is to, I kind of touched on that, listening to well intentioned people telling you how long to grieve. So, kind of touched on that a little bit. Here I go again, trying to do two things at once, but it's hard. Um, yeah, it's hard. Ah, Somebody got to tell me how to do this talk, and yeah. So, people, again, there's no length of time of grief. And I promise you, you can be in, I don't know, your loved one could be gone for 15, 13, 10 years. You've moved on, and something can happen that will trigger you, and it's just like it happened all over again. There is no length of time of grief. Like I said, you don't get over it, but you do learn to live with it. And you will know when you are stuck. You'll know when you're stuck versus just having a moment of just remembering and the sorrow that comes with that. So people mean well, but don't don't let anyone tell you how long to grieve. Grieving is different for every individual. Grieving is different for every individual. And like I said, if you have loved ones or a professional surrounding you, they'll be able to tell when you're stuck. You'll know when you're stuck. And again, I'm not going to make this clinical, so I just want you to understand that piece, that everyone grieves differently and in their own time. So don't put yourself on a time frame, and don't get too alarmed if way down the line in the future, if something triggers you and you feel that overwhelmed all over again. It happens, and it will happen, and it does not mean you're stuck there again. It just means you feel the emotion and go through it, and have people surrounding you so you can process. And if you don't have persons, that's what I do. Please don't hesitate. uh, Go on my calendar, book an appointment, DM me. I'm on every social media platform. There's help, and I can relate to what you're going through. So yeah, no time frames. The third piece is pretending you are emotionally okay when you are not. That is a big one. People will come up, oh, I hear it all the time. I'll walk in, or either if I'm counseling or doing therapy, or even when I'm working with a patient where I work, and I ask, how are you? And I find out that they just lost a loved one or a spouse, and oh, I'm okay, I'm great, and I'm doing well. And then they do all the things. No, you're not. And I already know you're not. And that's where my expertise come in to help that person process. But it's okay not to be okay. You don't have to be superwoman. And if men are watching, you don't have to be a Superman. If it hurts, it's a hurt that you cannot describe. It hurts, and you don't have to pretend you are okay. And I find many who pretend that they are okay are those who are religious. and I'm putting those in quotes specifically, when, I don't know, the body of Christ give some, not all, give people this impression that you supposed to be strong and endure, and you're not supposed to be sad or cry or grieve or yeah, we're to bury the dead and we're to move on with our lives. But God understands our emotions. He gave it to us. We don't have to pretend we're okay when we're not okay. So stop it. Don't do that. And if you're around people who make you feel like you have to pretend, then we might need to kind of evaluate our circle. If you don't feel okay, then it's okay not to be okay. That means you need to do some more processing of what's going on with your emotions. Sometimes when we stuff down our emotions, uh, and we keep stuffing them down and we keep stuffing them down, they're going to come up and it's going to come out in some sort of way. Um, you can be, uh, let me not go there. I'm not going to make this clinical. But yeah, it's going to come out. So don't hide your emotions. Process them with someone who loves you. Process them definitely with God, but there are people who can help you sort through them so you can become healthy and whole again in your heart. 4, hindering those who love, let me see, wait, hindering those who love you the opportunity to support you. Now, I get that with people who lost a loved one or spouse, and I get that when I'm dealing with family members who are sick or patients who are sick. When you are independent and you are self-sufficient, that is one of the hardest things to do is ask for help. And I'm going to advise you to stop it. Please stop. Don't do that. Yes, there are people who are being nosy, and there are people who truly love you and want to support you. A technique a tool that I give patients who struggle with that, because when they go home, their life, the patients that I work with are dealing with life altering situations when they go home. And that's a whole situation in itself. But they still, in their mind, are self sufficient and don't want to bother anyone. So, what I advise them to do, and I'm advising you as well, when you're dealing with grief, especially, and grief comes not just in losing a spouse and being a widow or a widower, it's losing anything, your ability to function, your health, your anything that a loss that can cause you not to function like your normal self. So what I suggest my patients to do and those that I counsel is get a notebook or a piece of paper and write down, especially while you're isolated, write down all the things you think you would need help with. Anything you could think of. I need help walking the dog. Or there's some days I don't feel like combing my hair. There's some days I don't, I may need something to eat and I don't feel like cooking. And these are light things, but anything, cutting your grass, so just start writing them down, write them down, write anything you can think of, just write them down. So I give this tool out because this is going to help you decipher who really wants to help you and support you, and then who really is just being nosy and wanting to be in your business. So when you're home and you have this list, and that's another thing, you're going to get people that's going to bombard you, social media, calling you, texting, it's going to be all of that. So that's when I want you to pull out your list. Pull out your list, and those who call or text and say this statement to you: if there's anything I can do to help you, let me know. I want to help, let me know. Is there anything I can do for you? That's when you pull out your trusty list, and according to the person that it is, you state something on your list that you need help with. It's going to take a little practice, but I know you can do it. You can do it. God did not make us a lonely island. We need each other and we need support. So don't hinder people from helping you because of pride or embarrassment or whatever the situation is, go ahead and pull out your list and let them help you, because I kind of feel, and I share this, and this helps my patients. I know you are a loving, giving person, and all the things that you've done when you wanted to help people and you did that to help people, now it's your turn to reap what you sowed. So, therefore, this is your turn. We all go through hard times, we all go through hardships. So, you need to receive the blessing God is giving you by having this support. So let them support you. Those who really just are trying to be nosy will find every excuse there is not to be able to do, or they will just be dumbfounded that you actually asked them to do something for you. So you'll be able to decipher and discern who's who. But yeah, let people help you that truly love you and want to help. Uh, 5, feeling the need to entertain people in order for them to feel comfortable around your sadness and your grief. Stop that. Again, backing up to the previous. It's okay to grieve. It's okay to feel sad. And you don't have to entertain people. If they know you lost a loved one, they know you lost your spouse. So if they want to come around you, they're going to have to deal with your grief and your sadness. You don't have to entertain them. You If they love you and they're your friend or they're close to you, you don't have to put on a show for them. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to. And if you do, that's again another reason of processing who should be in your life at that time and who should not be. Or that person may not be able to or have the wherewithal to know how to support you. So if you have to entertain someone in order for them to be in your presence, then they should not be the one you find comfort in during that time. So not all people know how to or what to say during people who grieve. A lot of people say things out of ignorance, not that they're trying to hurt you, but they just don't know what to say. So you may have to do that or have a friend or a loved one who can kind of help navigate that for you. But if any time you feel the need to entertain or perform, then those persons should not be in your presence at that time while you're dealing with your loss. Number 6, and I'm almost done. I said I got 7, and I truly have only 7. Uh, Not giving yourself time to know who you are after the death of your spouse. That's a big one. So, and it brings me back to making life altering decisions. You are one person while you are married. When you are single and dealing with grief, or when you're single, it's different from being single prior to ever being married. Let me take these gloves off because it's truly clear I can't do 2 things at once. Oh, I promise I can multitask, but not with this. I get so into it. So being single prior to being married and then being single after being married are 2 different dynamics. So you become something a different person, hopefully for the better. When you're married to someone who was a loving spouse, you become a different person. You've grown, hopefully. You've developed new belief systems. You were meshed with someone else, so you kind of think how they thought somewhat. And not that you don't have your own mind, but it's you were one flesh. You were literally one flesh. So you have to learn who you are after your spouse dies. So that brings me back to making these
decisions, life altering decisions that you may regret. You're going to have to relearn yourself all over again. What you like, what you don't like. I got young, married very young, and I, like I said, hindsight is 2020. I had no idea who I was. I thought I did. I was very mature for my age. I thought I knew who I was, but all those things that I thought I knew who I was outside of me. So I found out after losing my spouse, after going through a divorce after a death of a spouse, that I have different boundaries, I have different belief systems, I have different things that I'm choose not to tolerate that I didn't in the past. I have things that I choose to tolerate because I'm more aware of people psychologically now. I am very intuitive of I mean I counsel and provide therapy nonetheless. So there's some things that I used to have dogmas about, and then now there's some things I don't have dogmas about. So you have to learn who you are. So take the time to do that. Take the time to learn your own personal identity outside of anybody else, outside of your spouse. You may have adult children after your spouse has died, that you don't have the same responsibilities that you had during the time your spouse was alive or the time that you were married. Like we talked about in my last video, divorce is a loss, a death for it is a death. It wasn't meant to be. Divorce was not meant to be. So you had different dynamics, you had different things going on in all of those situations that you need to come to grips with, that you need to process. So you learn yourself before you bring anybody back into your life. Learn who you are, your likes, your dislikes, your boundaries, what you will tolerate, what you won't tolerate, all of those things. Take the time to do it. I promise you will be the better person for it, and so will that new person coming into your life. And last but not least, because like I said, this is something I can talk about for forever. Feelings, try to stay, well, don't feel guilt. Well, work with your feelings of, because I'm not going to say don't, your feelings are valid. So let me correct that. But the feelings of guilt when your heart is ready to love again. Listen, there are going to be so many people in your life when you know that you're ready to move on and you know that you are ready to date again, when you've started dating and you know the person that came into your life is your person and you're ready to move on, there will probably be so many people telling you, isn't that too soon? You might have adult children not wanting you to move forward again because they fear, they don't want you to hurt. Your adult children want you to be safe. They don't want anyone else to hurt you. They don't want to see you crying and your heart broken again. So some of them prefer you just being alone for the rest of your life. You'll have former in-laws that may feel you're moving too quickly or you're tampering or you know, not honoring their son or their brother or sister or whoever died, that you're not honoring them. Or you might have friends who feel, oh, that you're not ready. Oh, you know when you are ready. And don't let anyone hinder you from moving forward when you are ready. And sometimes it takes just stepping out there to see if you're ready. There's no there's no one on this earth walking around perfect and completely healed from their past traumas and completely whole. Your traumas kind of made you who you are today. Those mishaps in your life, those devastating events, those seasons of pain is who you are made up to be today. What we have to learn is of how to properly uh, appropriate them in our new relationships. Some things, especially if you've gone through a divorce, there's some things you've learned from that you need to uh, allow to remain present in your new relationships. And then there's some things that no, you can't punish the new person for because of what your former spouse did. That's not healthy, and it's not healing. It's You're not healed when you're doing that. And again, I'm not going to make this clinical, but yeah, sometimes it takes us just stepping out there to see where we are and not allowing fear to take over us completely and to see what's out there and what's there. I shared a little bit briefly in my last video about divorce that it's a different world, especially when you are over 50, as I am. We come from a generation that things were just different when you're dating. And and what I find really interesting is that even those who are in our same age bracket, they kind of don't operate what I let me just put it like this. I am extremely old school with a lot of things when it comes to relationships and dating. And I mean old school in the good way. And I just feel that's your belief if you don't believe it, but I do believe that there are gender roles, and I believe that's what's causing a lot of the disdain and the discord in relationships today. I think there's gender roles, and the reason why I believe there's gender roles because God made women and God made men. Although we are uh, to walk beside one another, we have different functions. Women are function and have different ways of functioning, and men have different ways of functioning. And I think because we've distorted that with the feminist movement and all the things that we've adopted with because of social media and because the we have so much more access than what we had in the past. I think we've just swayed so far away from that piece of gender roles. And I'm not talking about if the woman takes out the garbage or thing, even though I tell my man thank you every time he takes out the garbage. I tell my son thank you if he's around and take out the garbage because those are some of the things I just don't like to do as a girl. Can I do it? Do I do it? Yeah, I have to. But when I don't have to, I'm grateful for it. No, I need a man. I like men. I like strength. I like all of that. So I'm a girly girl. So I'm not the one for the feminist stuff at all. But I think because we have swayed so far away of just being feminine and being masculine, I think that's causing a lot of discord in our relationships. And so, like I said, that's a whole nother video. But I hope out of those 7 points that I gave you, I hope it's useful for you to help navigate your season of widowhood. And it's my prayer that and I know your spouse would not want you if you are able-bodied and have so much love in your heart. I'm sure your former spouse would want you to find love again. And so I hope you do. I pray that you do. I pray that you take the time to think about those 7 little tips that I gave you and process before you make any really rash life-altering decisions. But don't be so fearful and stuck that you don't move on with your life and see what else God has for you. Because I promise, and I'm going to close out with this, I promise, as I stated, there would have been no one in my life back then could have told me that that pain and that heartbreak and that trauma and devastation I went through losing my husband at that time would have blossomed into what I am today. That God truly, truly turned my ashes into beauty. He truly used everything that I lived during that time and even prior to that, he is using that for his glory to this very moment. The fact that I can come on here and talk to you about that whole that time in my life is I only give glory to God because it's only him. No one in a million years could have told me that I would have said something good can come out of that devastation of losing my husband. God can, the scripture text is true in Romans 8:28. All things work together for good for those who love the Lord and who are the called according to his purpose. And when I say all things, I mean all things. So, again, hopefully this was helpful for you. I'm going to now work on my inventory because once again, I can't do two things at one time. Maybe next time I won't try to come on here pretending like I can. God bless you. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this with someone who can benefit from it. Don't forget to go on my website. I am wearing Hannah lashes now. I will be soon. I will have the description about Hannah for those who may not know who Hannah was in the Bible. I'm going to talk to you about her soon. And yeah, have a wonderful and blessed rest of your Saturday. Bye.